I mean, I feel like when it comes down to it,
Hey guys, I think we're live.
hey, how you doing?
Good morning. Yeah, we were in the middle of a conversation, right? That was interesting. So today, and we're gonna keep that conversation going. Today we're discussing working with a C type of buyer or seller. So we're talking about the DISC personality profile, right? And we were going back over the type of clients or agents we've been working with that personality trait. And actually our own Israel Martinez is a very high C. So this is Gigi with the Experience. I have Ed Penafiel with me and the
good morning, everybody.
Well-known Israel Martinez. Good morning. This is the Friday training. We don't even have a name for this training, but we're doing it.
We're getting there. You know, we're coming to the end, to the close of our personality profile training. So I'm kind of sad because this right here put all of you guys, like all of your personalities, like I have more depth and I have more knowledge on how to talk to you guys and how to work with you guys. So I had a good time doing it. I hope you guys had a good time doing it also.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those, it's not lesson or least. It's one of those great informational desk information that we've learned. And I've actually learned a lot.
Yeah. Once you understand that, you can apply it to your work, to your life, to your friends, to your children. And this last personality trait is probably, to me, a very high DNI, the most misunderstood. And probably, you know, the one I unfortunately have the least patience with because we complete opposites. So we discuss that a little bit further.
Well, in my opinion, I don't think that. I think that they are. I could understand them as a high, I guess, IS. You know, I can understand. I can understand where they're coming from. You know.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, of course, you know, I completely understand it. I definitely know about them.
Do you want to go back quickly over this DISC desk profiles? Who wants to do that, guys? Who wants to? Let me see if we're on board right now.
I'll jump in on that, Gigi.
Go ahead.
So as you guys already know, these which Gigi has mentioned, high D, high I's, but you already know they're results driven. They're direct. They're very competitive. They don't necessarily they put everything in line. They're driven. They're go-getters. They're hard to understand, but they need some patience. And if we kind of do that on our end, we can understand them a little bit better. The I's, I'm more of an I, okay? But they are enthusiastic, friendly, optimistic, shiny object syndrome. We kind of tend to lose our train of thought.
Yes.
You know? And as for the S, which again, that's another high trait that I have, steadiness, sincere, patient, modest. Yeah, it takes a little longer to pull the trigger, but at the end of the day, they're awesome people to lock arms with. They're awesome people to team up with. They're people that are going to be loyal and they're going to work with you. And today, we're going to go over the C profile, okay? The compliance, accurate, cautious, but it's someone who has things in order. They have everything down to a T, and they're gonna follow that step by step. And if you throw a wrench in the way, oh my God, you do not want to get in the way of that. So we're gonna jump right into it. And Gigi, if you want to go to the next slide.
So the C types are also called the analysts. All right. So they are motivated with opportunities to gain knowledge, show their expertise, produce quality work. They're really perfectionists. They prioritize ensuring accuracy, maintaining stability, and challenging assumptions. They are often described as careful, analytical, systematic, diplomatic, accurate, and tactful. So let's go over the fear in general of a high C personality. Their fear is to to be critiqued or being wrong, and they're not fan of big displays of emotions. You know, a lot of the times people with a high C personality are accused of showing no emotions. It's not that. It's pretty much controlled emotions. All right. They value quality and accuracy. They could be overusing analysis and restraint. Okay. And they're very much influenced by logic, exacting standards, and they could be in conflict with too much focus on logic and objectivity and overpowering everything with facts. They could improve effectiveness through acknowledging others' feelings. I have the same problem. These don't have any feelings either. I do, but it's just the way I express them. Looking beyond data. All right, so looking just beyond the numbers, there would be like an out of control C, but overall, they're very, very analytical, right? And I think, Israel, this is your realm. This is who you are. This is your daily life has a very high C personality, and I think you can go probably deep dive into it with us and help us understand, and then we'll just punch in with our questions. Okay.
You know, sometimes it's hard to talk about yourself, but certainly when it comes to the C, it's, as you said, we're analytical, we're analysts. In certain cases, you know, we were doing research on this. I found also that C's can also be sort of the anchor to all the other, you know, DISCs. So they're the ones who are always straightforward, always wanted to make sure the goals are done and done correctly. So, you know, when it comes to this C-style goals, you know, C-style tends to have goals such as these, and you know, objectives, process, be accurate and correct, demonstrate ability and reliability, attain knowledge and expertise, and continue personal growth. And that's very true. When reading this, I believe in that all the way. And when it comes to staying with the objective, I mean, we've been through groups, we've been through, you know, a couple of our own meetings, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, we got to get back to the objective. You know, we'll tend to digress on other things, but then I'm like, whoa, let's just get back to what we need to get back to.
Yeah.
And I completely understand that. And when it comes to, you know, other parts of my business, you know, in business of real estate, it's, you know, things have to be done in a checklist kind of format, and that's how I see things. So I feel that as a C, you know, being analytical, yes, it does take a little bit of time to do things, but at the same time, as long as they're done within the checklist format, they'll get done correctly and pretty efficiently as well. Is one. I mean, if you guys don't mind. So C-style counselors will need to extend more energy to, and then resist being overcritical or analyzing and isolating themselves. Let go and delegate tasks.
Yeah, delegation. Yeah, they like control too.
I do.
It's okay. It's okay.
Compromise, but see, the thing is about that is very funny. So here's the thing: we do like to delegate. We do like to, you know, be in control of things. But then when you have a D personality that's next to us, we tend to revert back. We tend to be reserved, you know, in the sense of, wait a minute, we'll be the supporting role. We're not going to be the control role here. What was that? So compromise for the good of them. I mean, of the team. And
right. I think a challenge with C, if could be, we're talking about a C style challenge as far as when this is the extreme, not the fully in control C. I think they could be rigid, you know, and not compromising enough. Yeah.
That's
not you. Not you, of course, not you.
No, not me. And obviously, the last but not least, besides joining social events, celebrations, I'll go to celebrations.
Yeah, Israel, you see, that's a great example. We're going to go on this 2-day little Poconos thing, Shindig, and you're not coming. And we keep on asking you.
You're not coming.
Please come.
My tires are flat. I have not enough gas. No, I'm kidding.
Somebody will drive you. It's okay.
I'm kidding.
Nothing to say to this one. Let's try to
decision. Make it quickly, Israel. Stop thinking about it. Just do it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's actually, I don't make quick decisions right away. I have to analyze and overanalyze, make sure everything is okay before I even move forward. So
Yeah.
that's how I feel about that.
So in the C style in leadership, they're saying that they can be conscientious, disciplined, diligent, providing high quality outcomes through careful analysis and planning. They can also be risk averse perfectionists and may not pay enough attention to the human element in that factor of leadership. So C stars often display leadership characteristics such as deliberate, humble, and resolute. And I want to add something which I found in that little book, Sell Naked on the Phone, which was a great little read. Again, I've been mentioning it over the last 4 weeks.
All this segment, Sell Naked, something like that, like.
It sounds dirty because of my accent. That's all. It just sounds dirty because I have a French accent. Otherwise, it's perfectly fine. All right, let's move on.
The naked truth of roast. Go ahead.
It's here, and I totally agree. Guys, focus a little bit.
It's Friday. It's Friday. But we'll let you piggyback, guys. If there's any C personality goals that you weren't doing up here, throw it in the chat. If there weren't any C style challenges that weren't up here, throw it in the chat. If you see any leadership skills that weren't up here, throw it on the chat, guys. Don't be scared.
Yes, don't hesitate.
Make the decision, C's. Just type it in the chat box and hit send.
Really?
All right. This is what they're saying about the high C traits and how they make great sales professionals, especially we're talking about real estate industry professional right now. So number one, they know their product and service, products and services. They make really clear and logical presentations. They often anticipate and rehearse answers to the most likely questions their client may ask. They have very high standards for themselves. They act with great integrity and honesty. They finish whatever they start. Ooh, that's a big one for me. And they seek perfection personally and professionally, and carefully plan their work and work their plan. They will not entertain distraction, which is something, I would aspire to more, no distraction. Same thing like the shiny object syndrome. I have this big time. And methodically work their territory, maintain objectivity, and often analyze and pursue the most efficient approach to time and territory management. And all this, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And can I have a little bit anecdote, and then I'll shush because I talked too much this morning. I'm mentoring, and I won't say who. I'm mentoring an agent, and he happens to be a super, super high C. And he asked for a consultation to dissect the listing agreement section of a residential listing agreement. And mind you, we have MLS, one key MLS has a new form, right, with longer MLS agreement. Now, of course, I haven't read it, and I'm still using the old MLS form.
Okay.
We are dissecting this thing line by line, and I'm like, being a high D, so I just need to get straight to the point. And a high I, so I'm losing it a little bit. I see like fuse like just blowing up in my head. And he's asking so many questions, but he's so sweet. And I'm like, you're very high C, aren't you? But let's get back to that section here. Can you give me an example? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I think sorry to jump in there. I think if they were able to change the letter of this personality, it should not be C. It should be P. P for perfectionist, because that is what they strive for. They are striving heavy duty for perfectionists, to be a perfectionist.
And details and interpretation, analysis of
and what do you mean by
verbiage in the agreement. And it was reflecting back, I really had to take a lot of deep breaths, like several times, and we're on a Google Meet, and I'm like smiling, I'm like, yes, of course. Inside I'm dying. And this lasted like 2 hours. So,
Oh my God.
For
They had your attention. They had your attention for 2
but
hours.
he's a
Gigi?
lovely, but it's not, I don't want to make fun of him. The point
Oh,
is,
no.
he needed resolve. And with his personality, this is how he needed to express it and have a full understanding. And me mentoring him, I couldn't rush him. I wanted to make sure that he understood what he was getting into. His need was to fully analyze the listing agreement before he gets a listing. All right, I get it. I told him many times, let's just go along. That doesn't work for him. So yes.
It's a good thing, I think. I mean, honestly, but, because once you go over it once with him or once with any high Cs like that, they tend to already have it. Once they can work themselves, they tend to have it already, and they won't have to ask you again, right? So it's once they pretty much analyze, I guess, every little letter of every little thing, they won't ever have to actually ask you again on, what to do this, how to do this, how to do that. And they won't forget either. But it's funny that you're mentioning that because, yes, I am a high C. So imagine me having to also work with another. I was working with a new agent as well.
Other IC agent? Oh, yeah.
And she was a high C as well. And I was like, oh, my God, did I ask this many questions? So there was a lot of questions throughout the process. And I'm like, man, really? A lot, you have to do it like a session, every hour.
Yeah. So you see, for me, working with, and I have to admit it, I haven't been very successful in working with high C buyers. Really not because I don't have time for them to open up. And then the million questions and the lack of decision making, quick one. And I don't have time to just bring up charts and things, which I don't mind, but with buyers, it's a very tough one for me. With sellers, I'll make an exception. I'll just swallow my, not even my pride, but I'm like, okay, just try to understand them, and just go with the flow and mirror, what makes them feel comfortable. So yes, I will pull out the charts. Yes, I will pull out the stats. Yes, I will go over it and try to make a very logical presentation. Forget about bonding with that person because I won't even, doesn't matter, right? So I learned that. And then, also one misconception on people, what we need to do first is, going through that next, is identify a very high C style personality person, right? So usually you'll see them very quiet and they proceed. They're for sure not the life of the party. They actually won't be at that party. All right. They focus on details. They ask questions. They deliberate and controlled. Everything they say actually comes out with a purpose, unlike me, who sometimes I just blur things out because I don't know. Right, Ed? You too, right? A little bit. And they are not comfortable with physical contact. So do not touch a high C person you don't know. That's not they are reserved and somewhat timid. They actually you won't even know if they disagree with you. So you'll get the silent treatment right there. And they'll be better prepared than you. They may have done all their homework. They'll even have the crime rate in the neighborhood. They study specific and other informations carefully. They make decisions after studying pertinent fact and issues, which means they need to have all their answers, all their questions answered. They may be critical. Criticism is based on fact, not opinions for them. And this is how you recognize a high C person. All right. Anybody, you guys want to add something to that?
I mean, for the most part, I would disagree with the hugs and the touching part. I mean, now I guess with COVID or whatnot, but I think they can be very loving. I mean,
I'm not saying that. I'm talking about a client you don't know. If you're working with an I personality, you touching their arm, being one eye to an eye. If I touch the person's arm and connect, it's fine. With the C personality, and I've done it in the past, like tap on the shoulder, oh, they're just gonna just draw back, and you can see they're very uncomfortable with that. If you know them, sure. You know.
Well, here's what I would add to that, though. If we're talking about that, so when you if we're talking about that, I don't mind. See, I actually like the C personality buyers because I guess whenever I'm presenting things, I like to be more logical. I like to be more numbers. So because of the fact that they like the numbers, they like everything to be organized and everything to be explained and break down what I'm paying for and what the cost is going to be. It's almost like, look, here are the numbers. This is the market report. This is what it's potentially selling for. I'm not telling it to you. I'm showing it to you. And then it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Right. Right. I mean, for me, working more with sellers, yes, I learned to really be able to dissect everything with the C sellers. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at C buyers. I'll admit to it.
Well, it's the same thing. I think that what Ed just mentioned is the same thing. So you have a C buyer. I mean, one of the things that I've realized with a lot of C buyers is that they always want to either have comparables or they want numbers or, they just want over information sometimes, which they pretty much don't even need sometimes, most times.
Right.
But, and that's when speaking about co-ops or maybe condos. But when you're speaking about houses, they always want to know how much a home was worth, in this location or this block or so on and so forth. So if you plug in exactly what Ed said, which is the market report and a couple of comps in there, then at the end of the day, they'll probably, say, hey, sure, we'll move forward with that number.
Right.
But what I've run into a lot of C's that I've worked with is that with all the information that you're giving them, you're probably giving them so much information, so much research, that at the end of their day, they just won't move forward anyways.
Right, and that's where I'm challenged as far as my personality, high DII, where that lack of feedback, where it be almost mutism, and it's like they shut down, and I'm like, and I know I need to work on that. I'm a perpetual work in progress, and that's okay. That's okay.
That's why we're doing these courses.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, Ed, you want to read that C-style quote?
Here we go. It takes less time to do a thing right than to explain why you did it wrong.
And yes, that's typical C-style quote.
I feel like we should have added okay at the end of it.
True, though. Very, very true.
So Israel is actually a very high C and also high S style. So it's also good to discuss the combinations because we're all pretty much a combination of 2 or 3 styles. Those that have an equal combination of the 4 styles are crazy. Sorry. No, I'm joking. But usually it's about 2. We all have a combination of two different styles. So I'm a DI. Ed is a IS or SI, depending on the day. IS. And Israel is a strong C and S. All right. And you wanna discuss your CS combination, Israel?
Sure, I'll go over this. So CS styles. CS styles tend to be cautious or orderly and precise. Influencing others through the practically and attention to details. So the traits is cautious, reflective, stable, orderly, even-tempered, precise, well-prepared, patient, conventional, and self-control. That's very true. I'm pretty much almost all of those. My goal is stability and reliable outcomes. Again, that's something I work on. And is emotionally charged situations, ambiguity.
Yeah, you're not going to fare with somebody who's screaming or crying heavily or laughing out of control. That's not your team.
I'll be walking away. Yeah, I'm walking away.
Okay. And you walk. Yes.
See you. Okay.
You know how you shy away. You know how you shy away or distract or deter a CS. You just show up with a bunch of bubbles. Show up with a bunch of bubbles. That's it. They're done. They're done.
Yeah.
Outta here.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever I strive for as a DI, the CS is really, it's really the opposite. It's some things they're not comfortable with. Like for me, if you come up with balloons and music and bachata and I'm all good. Not the CS.
No.
Not at all.
In the corner, you know. Don't put baby in the corner, but just leave me in the corner though. So,
let's go over the influences of others through practicality and attention to
detail. Which is
so I know that I see Israel's contribution as far as always pointing out there's some detailed information we as a group may not have seen, especially in our roles as we have a little bit of a leaders group, you know, where we work, and Israel always comes up with raising some questions, making sure, you know, we're getting certain details discussed and so on and so forth, and it's always there to actually pinpoint the details. Right. And charts and things. Do we do that? Do we, you know, like, guys, what do you think of that? And it's great, you know. Overuses for Israel, I don't think he has a sense of caution that heightened. I don't know, not you, not very much. Traditional method either, because you've been in leadership situations where you had to be more progressive, especially when dealing with a large department store, a national chain. In conflict, encourages a calm demeanor and avoids emotional situations. So this is good. Israel is very even-tempered. I don't think I ever seen him upset. Like literally, if I'm upset, you're gonna hear it. That. Yeah. And Israel, he might have been in conflict with people. It's been resolved quietly.
Yeah, it takes, you know, it's one of those where, and just to speak about me real quick, it's one of those that takes a lot to get me to that level. But then once I get to that level, it's like volcano. It's just an explosion. It's like, man, you took me to a level that I'm done. I can't.
Right, but you're not gonna get angry. You're probably gonna walk. You know, you're probably gonna walk away, right?
I've counted in my hands where times I've actually got angry, but most times I'll just walk away because honestly, that needs to calm down. Whatever hot situation that was needs to cool down, and we'll just move away from that.
So they also talk about improving effectiveness through showing flexibility. Very high C and S could be inflexible. That's not Israel's case. And being more decisive and displaying a greater sense of urgency. I see that more into some buyers I've been working with, or sellers, where it's hard for them to just make a decision.
Absolutely.
Right. Do we have any questions at all? Nobody's away. We don't have any C's. They're probably going to say,
it's not. No, there's a lot of C's on. What you do have to understand is that they don't know whether or not they should submit the question that they have. They don't know.
But they don't feel like it. They don't like that. They don't want to be.
They're trying to figure out, and it's okay, guys. Just throw your questions into the comment box.
Send a PM. Send a PM. We'll reply to you. Let me see.
There is no wrong answer. There is no wrong comment unless Gigi says it's wrong. You know, I'm kidding. But I mean, if you guys are okay with it, I'll jump right into the CD style. Only because.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. I'm going too quick. Go ahead.
Just to kind of tidy through it. So the CD style. These are interesting individuals out there, guys. So the CD style tend to be skeptical. They tend to be skeptical, stubborn, and disciplined, influencing others through their strict standards and resolute approach.
Yeah,
I said that in French. All right. Yeah. Traits: skeptical, determined, questioning, critical thinking, stubborn, cynical, objective, discipline, systematic, high standards. This is where perfectionist comes into play. It's not that they don't want to say it's trying to achieve perfectionist, but this is really what it is. They are.
You know what it is? To me, it's almost very attractive. It's like a very interesting combination and makes them really enigmatic. You know, like this skeptical and stubborn, determined, questioning. Oof, I think I like that.
Well, there's a little bit of D in there. That's why D personality.
Yeah, I agree. That's why.
Why wouldn't you connect with that one, Gigi?
Where are you, CJ?
But look, these are some of the goals they have. Efficient results. All right. Yeah. That's key. Yeah. Efficient results. Okay. Rational decisions. Sometimes they think about things rationally. They'll take a second to think about whether or not this is the right move. All right. Some of their fears: failure, lack of control. And I think the lack of control and failure, well, yeah, lack of control might be more of the C, in my opinion, but failure is more of the D.
Do you know CD or DC? What do we do? CD or DC, whatever. Do we know personally a CD? Isn't Priscilla a CD?
I don't want to say it, but yeah.
Why don't you want to say it? I think it's great.
You know why? The same reason it's hard to get a C personality in front of the camera. Same exact reason. You're talking about a C personality. They don't want to be talked about. The last thing they want to hear is constructive criticism, because it might be difficult to hear.
But you know what?
Especially someone.
What's easy about that is having to do it on a one-on-one level versus having to do it in a group level, right? So if you're going to criticize or you're going to be constructive criticism towards that person, it should just be done, one-on-one. Tell them about what are the missing opportunities for that person, and go from there.
Yeah. No, you're right. That's definitely a good approach, because if you go with a group of people, they're going to feel like they're ganged on. And that's the last thing you want to kind of put somebody in that position where they feel like they're being overwhelmed or overrun. Yeah. Hold on real quick.
Yes, go ahead. And then I'll ask a question. It's going to be a personal question, Ed. I hope
so. The other thing I will say is this, and Israel, I agree with you 100%. But even on a one-on-one level, it all depends on the personal relationship that you have. Yeah. Because if that person is a business relationship, it might be one thing. But if you're in a different kind of relationship outside of business, that can be hard.
In a married relationship, you mean?
Like if you're married and trying to work in the same industry or in the same business.
Yeah. Now, do you want to just finish up that CD and then I'll ask you that question?
Yeah, definitely. So influencing others through strict standards. We already kind of went through that. Overuses, bluntness, very blunt, critical attitude. They don't mean it. They don't mean it. They don't mean it the way it comes out, is what I'm saying. They don't mean it the way it comes out, because the way it's projected.
That's the D. Yeah,
exactly. But C can also be kind of, straightforward and to the point, and whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. It's just that's the truth, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why that comes into play. So they're very blunt, critical attitude. And again, they don't mean it the way it's coming out and being projected. They mean well by it, but it's just the way it kind of comes out might not fly as comfortable for others. In conflict, they stick up for their own rights 100%. Okay. Become passive aggressive.
Well, we'll see. Because they're cynical, and I love that. Great.
Okay, geez. Could improve effectiveness through cooperation, paying attention to the needs of others. And geez, the banner below where it says working C personalities kind of cuts off the last sentence. So I'm going to read it as best as possible and fill it in.
So sorry about that.
It's okay. CD styles. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hey! To the end. CD style be questioning. Okay. Listen, this is key. CD style leaders can be questioning. Independent leaders who aren't afraid to challenge the status quo to get better results. They can also be cynical, insensitive leaders who I can't read because the banner's there. Something blank.
We can put a negative spin on everything. Yes, and no, but I think this is the spice in that personality.
so that people could see.
Ed, you are an SIIS, and your wife is a CD. So you basically like two opposites.
Two spectrums.
But you basically attract each other. And what is there? I mean, I'm not saying on the person. I mean, like, I don't want to go in details, but
no, that's all right. We're being honest here, straightforward.
Conflict resolution. Are you applying? What works for you as a team in life? You know, because you're very, very completely opposites. You bubbly, sensitive, and all that, and she might be more pragmatic,
she's more reserved.
but she's more reserved, right?
So not to get too deep in it, in my honest opinion, opposites, they've always said opposites attract. But what I do, well, not even just me, I give it to her because she's developing patience. And I think that's the key there. Because of the fact that we are different personalities, we're also teaching each other things, or we're actually helping each other get better at our weaknesses, right? Yeah. So my thing is patience. Her thing is not patience, right? So if we get, for example, if we get into a dispute, let's say, or a disagreement, my strength is patience. I know that if I just hold back and I don't say anything and I kind of sit on the side, if I want to get something through, that's my approach. Mm-hmm. I can't really go back and forth because, again, they can also stand up, right? They're gonna voice what they believe is right. And the minute if I stand up or if I get riled up, that's gonna feel like, oh, I'm on the defense mode now. DCs get on the defense. So now it's like, oh, now you're yelling at me. Now we're no longer on the same team. Now we're against each other. Yeah. You know what I mean? So the way that I normally like to say, you know what? I don't want it to get to that point. Why get to that level? It's hard. So we have to be clear on the way we're passing along that information, because again, they don't mean what they say, and I'm more emotional about it, right? So if she says something to me that's more straightforward, I'm like, what? What do you mean by that? I don't mean anything by that. I just said what I said. And it's like, no. Hold on a second. Let's retract that. That's not the way you said it. You know what I mean? And it's again, for me, myself, it's then pulling out of that and saying, hey, let's not look at the emotional side of it. Let's not get stuck on it, right? In the beginning of the course, when we started doing this, it's like if you go to a restaurant, and the waiter comes over and says, hey, can I offer you folks something to drink? And the person tells me no, I'm not going to go to the back and start crying about it. Like, oh my God, everybody else but that person wanted a cup of water. I hate my job. I quit. You know what I mean? You can't take it that route. So you have to kind of be in tune. I have to be in tune on what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And she just has to be patient with me. Yeah. So I give it to her on that end. So it's not easy, but the only difference is we've been doing this for a really, really long time. We've been together.
I have my oldest child is a very, very high C, and very, very high C, and she's extremely controlled. But she would get angry when she shuts down. For her, it's total shutdown in my room. Don't talk to you for weeks. And that's how she operates. So it could be, like me being more touchy-feely, and, the I comes out when I'm at home more than the D. It could be a little bit challenging. Stubbornness, which is for her, not stubbornness, but determination. And for me, sometimes as a, child to mother relationship, seen as stubbornness, but to her, it's not. In her logical, controlled way, she's determined to this, and she'll get it. Eventually, she'll get it.
So in my household, we're both CS. So
we're both CS.
We're both, we're both in the sense of analytical. But then the point is that the problem that I run into is that when I ask a question, I'm hoping to get an answer quite quickly, but it's one of those. It's like, let me think. So it's a slow process. It doesn't get answered right away, unless it gets to a point that it's like, when she wants to make sure that things are done the right way. So she'll let me know. Dawn will let me know that this needs to be done this way.
Israel, Just out of curiosity, do you guys ever ask, do you ever, or does she ever ask a question and then you answer it back with another question and now you guys are just going back and forth in questions? No. Just curious.
I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah. I've seen with my children, my youngest being a super high I, and the other one, the older one, being a super high C. There was a lot of course, they love each other to death, but there was a lot of conflict. I seen them like catfight so much, just because they're so opposite. You should have seen their bedroom. One side, Kika, my youngest, everything was pink. She had murals. She had a whole bunch of stuff on her bed, and she's not that orderly. And then on the other side of the room, it was a bigger bedroom. My oldest child had her bed made almost. She had one shelf with books, nothing on the bed. Everything, one nightstand with the lamp, the alarm clock, and the story. The bed made so square and teed, and nothing. And
hold on a second. They shared this room?
Huh?
It was one room that they shared.
One room, and they had it divided. My oldest one had a blue paint, almost nothing on the walls, and Kika had pink and whole ponies and spark.
Oh my God. You have a picture of
I'm looking. I had a
picture.
picture.
Use it as a background.
I am looking for that picture, and I'm like, I wish I had showed it today. It was hilarious. And it's like, like, if my daughter would be home, she'd fix my oldest one. She would fix up the pillows on the sofa, make sure they are parallel to or perpendicular to the exact point to this corner, and the TV remotes have to be at a certain angle. Okay,
size of
touching one another, but they have to be on the table, and it's it's like amazing.
No lie, Priscilla's laughing here in the background. There's moments that I do that. I start to put things in, and I organize them, and I'm like putting them like, oh my God, that's weird. Yeah.
So we used to, with my youngest daughter, just spite my oldest daughter, just throw pillows in the middle of the room. You just grab the pillow from the sofa and just throw them like this in the middle of the living room. Oh my God.
She lost it. She lost it. I know it. Oh God, why would you do that to her?
It was hilarious to us.
You know how much time she put into fluffing that pillow and making sure it's symmetrical over there? You can pick it up and throw it? Oh my God.
Oh my God. Horrible.
Yeah, so anyway, getting back to clients, communicating with a high C client. So Israel had it earlier on, approaching them in a straightforward, direct way.
Yeah,
recognizing that they may be uncomfortable speaking to large group. All right, we don't push them. Actually, none of our high C friends here, besides Melody, who is a little bit of she has some C, but she also has some I. So she's all right putting a comment, but all our high C friends here on Facebook, we haven't heard of them. Anyway, so ask them to see the issue the same way as you do. Okay. Provide them the information and the time they need to make a decision. That one here, they need time to make a decision. And this is where I fail miserably. Don't be informal, casual, or personal. You stay formal, and not personal. Build credibility by looking at each other's side of the issue. If you just show them in a logical sense that here, this is what I think, and this is why, they'll definitely be more amenable to seeing your side of the story. Don't force a quick decision again. Don't force that. Let them take their time to think it thoroughly. Be clear about expectations and deadline. And I think once you give the deadline, they can work with that. And if you disagree, prove it with data and facts or testimonials from reliable sources. Like what I was saying with that lady I was working with last night, I had to make proof. I had to show him actual listing agreement I had signed and why it was why the number that I had placed was the number, and then the commission compensation was what, and why we did this, and how we filled up the all the other forms, and why, and this, and yes. So once you give them the proof and why it works, they'll go with it. Definitely.
I have a question that I wanted to ask. But Israel, before I ask my question, I feel like you had to say something.
Yeah.
Or you were going to bark off or something.
No, go ahead. Because I was going to ask
Here's my question for you guys, or for the C personality, right? Because we put this up there and it says, here we go. Where is it? Providing info. Okay, here we go. So provide them with information and the time they need to make a decision. So my question was this. For the C personality, do you think it's more for them to make that decision? Do you think it's more of them having the time to make the decision? Or do you think it's more of them having all the information they felt they needed to then make the decision?
I think it's first they need to have all the information. Then they can compute that information, process it, and they need the time to process it. That's secondary. But first they need to have all the information, process the information, have enough time to process it to make an educated decision.
So let me plug in a quick scenario for me. I actually had a quick high C years ago. Didn't realize it, didn't know anything about disc until I started reading this, and I was like, wait, that makes sense. So the way I actually got them to either make an offer, right, on one unit, is the first thing I did is after we saw 3 units real quick, we went back to the office and I actually showed them all the comps right away. Right. And after that, that's when they, started looking at numbers, started looking at everything. And from there, they, presented an offer and we got accepted later. But the point is that I made sure to give them the information in order to say, hey, listen, let's make this offer now before we lose it. Right. Because sometimes when I do my showings, it's based on, if you love it enough, just put an offer. But it's all about emotions. And they're, as high C emotions, we're like, yeah, whatever, who cares, right? But in the end of the day, it's really comes to that point of how much is going to cost me if I do buy this. I do like it, don't get me wrong, but how much is it going to cost me, right? Just like if I was buying a car, or if I was buying the most simplest thing, like if I was buying ice cream, if I was buying 1 scoop, how much would it cost me if I bought 2 scoops? It's really about numbers, right? And that's why the analytical portion kicks in. All right. However, now you go into the point of having to build that relationship with that C, or you build on the qualifying with the C. There's one thing I've learned is not to ask so many questions, right? You ask that one question and just shut up. Just wait until the answer. Hopefully they answer good enough.
And they'll ask more questions themselves anyway. So
become an interview. Yeah. So you just keep asking, deep questions or simple questions, so that you're able to get the information that you're looking for, right? And that's pretty much how I handle all my C's. Both.
Got it. What I would say, and then just to kind of give my opinion on that question anyway, I'm not a C personality. I do have some traits. That's like the 3rd one on my tier. You know what I mean? But you can't speed up time. There's nothing we can do about time. You can't speed it up, but wait. What I believe is that, yes, they do take time to pull the trigger and make the decision, but if you can get them that information, all the information, the numbers, if it makes sense, and if you can pass that information along, I don't believe they're going to spend a lot of time, because they're logical people. And if they hear it the first time, it almost gets burned into the head, and that's the information that they're going to carry on until someone updates them. Right? Okay. So I think as long as we provide that information and we give it to them as much of the information as possible, whether it's the numbers, whether it's the comparative market analysis, or whatever your industry is, just present logic and value behind it. That's the way I believe you're going to be able to get them to speed up in making that decision instead of waiting so long. If they wait longer, chances are they didn't get all the information. If it's taking longer for them to make that decision, they didn't get all the answers. They didn't get all the answers for their questions. So
right, but I think that because they don't use the emotions to make a decision, it's automatically taking longer.
Well, that's because the emotions. That's because they're focusing on the emotion. Don't focus on the emotion.
Right.
If you know they're not, if you know they're not saying that they're emotionless, but if you know they don't express emotions on making a decision, they're more logical. They're more analytical. You need to steer that conversation in that direction. Don't ask them how you feel. Ask them, do these numbers make sense?
Yeah. No,
Exactly.
You're right.
Exactly. I mean, look at the pie, where it says the pie says it's their task and their reserve.
Yes, they're task-oriented and more reserved. And then we were looking for a famous personality with a C-type, a celebrity with a C-type personality, and what we came up with Israel. Look at that beautiful face right here, Israel Martinez. So Israel just indicates Israel tends to be objective and direct, favoring straightforward facts over ambiguous emotions. And we thought this would resume Israel's personality pretty well, right? So we have not had much questions during this this little training segment, but this is actually posted on our Alliance Movement Facebook group, the private group. It's also on my personal group, and it will be
on my end as well.
Ad vitam aeternam. And if you guys have more questions, don't hesitate to comment. If you guys like those type of trainings we have every Friday and would want to talk to us about maybe associating, partnering up with us, we're really open to that as well. And you can actually send us private messages. Israel, do you want to share your phone number? Maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you certainly want to call me, ask me.
Let me just remove the banner.
Anyone can call me at 917-299-7496. That's pretty much an easy way to call me or text me, and I'll be more than welcome to help you out with any questions or any answers when it comes to this personality, real estate, or anything else like that.
Yeah. And Ed, you were muted. I don't know what happened now.
I muted because I just wanted to keep it quiet. But I mean, look, to kind of end it off here, what I want to say is that this really was a stepping point. I feel like this is key to anything, whether it's relationship, business, contacts, whatever it is that you guys are doing in your field. This is key. Understanding who your client is, understanding who you're working with, understand who you're trying to do business with, even understand the person you're trying to be with.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's your phone number?
Don't speed me up. Don't cut me off, Gigi. I know. Look, first of all, you can find me on Instagram. Okay, the same way you see the name spelled on the bottom, NYC Homes with Ed. You could also reach me at 646-217-8119. But let me finish my story, Gigi.
Yes, of course.
But just to kind of wrap it all and put it all together, we are continuing these training courses. We are going to kind of steer more into some more education as far as real estate goes. We are also looking to open it up and maybe bring some special guests from different industries. So we're giving you guys the inside scoop. So
we want to give what we learned. And I think we also, one thing we haven't mentioned is we want to share our skill buildings, whatever we acquired, all those gifts, all those techniques. We'll share anything we know because let's make it a little bit different than what we've seen all over the internet, where it's pretty much the same shtick always, and just point on things that we need in our industry, whether it's from the buyer's perspective or the seller's perspective or just real estate agents at large. Thank you guys for tuning in. You can also reach me by phone at 347-432-5413. This is Ed, Israel, and Gigi on our Friday. What is it? Real estate live on Friday? Something like that. Find a name. Oh, yes. Send us your. Let's take suggestions on names we can have for this little teaching segment.
Definitely. I think
has a good name for us.
You have people that are still tuned in. Give it a couple minutes. If anybody puts anything in the comment chat, or even if there's specific topics that you guys want to gear towards. Again, what we're trying to do is just give back. we do understand that we can't leave our homes and get together the way we used to. But at least we're able to pass along this information to you guys. So if there's anything important that you guys are curious to know, whether it's real estate, whether it's personality, relationships, by all means, feel free to reach out to us. We're here to talk. We're here to chat. We're here to help.
We're here to share. We're here to share.
Yeah, here to share.
It's not an exact science. We'll just give it to you. We don't say we know it all, but we're just going to share what we learned. And I think this is the intention behind this training. Thank you. And I have to go to a photo shoot for a property in Brooklyn. So it's going to take me a while to drive. All right, guys. So next week, we're going to have a really good training. I think we're going to have a speaker. So please stay tuned. We'll give you more information. And we're going to keep you in the dark a little bit. All right. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Facebook. Have a great weekend.
Yeah,
Thank you.